Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me. Um, I just connected my old new mic, so if you pop on, let me know if you can hear me okay. Oh, wow, gosh, it's just been a minute. There's been a lot of shift and change in my life, and this has been going on for over a year that I have been um, going through so much change and movement in my life. So it's been a little bit challenging for me to come on live weekly, as originally when I started this Mind Heart Space page, I had really, that was my commitment to come on weekly and lead a meditation. But because of the unpredictability of my life, and I'm not complaining, you know what I mean? Um, it's just I haven't had the space to be able to commit to that. So I just wanted to say that. And I'm hoping if if it's the right thing, and that I will be more settled soon. And it's just such an interesting time for so many people, not just myself. Just so many changes and uncertainties. And today, I actually wanted to come and talk with you um, about an experience I recently had. I just spent 7 days on the Wisdom of Trauma talks with Gabor Mate. I don't know if you have heard of him, but he's very well known in the world of trauma and addiction, and as a mindfulness teacher and a meditator and yoga teacher for many, many years. Um, this is part and parcel of doing inner work. And um, I keep having the question come up to me, who do you think you are? And it's been used in derogatory ways, to put people in their places. Like, who do you think you are anyway? Like, you have some nerve coming in here acting like that. It's something that maybe a parent would say to their child, or anybody that means to like one up you, right? Or put you down in some fashion. But I always thought, I didn't really think of the question much until I started the practice of Ramana Maharshi, which was introduced to me, oh gosh, I want to say 4 years ago now. And in the contemplative tradition, Ramana Maharshi didn't speak for many years, and that's what his teaching was the silence. And his teaching was his presence and the technology of his heart, the vibration of his presence. Finally, one of his students said, "Look, I need a teaching. Like, all this silence is great and everything, but you got to give me something, some sort of practice." And so finally, he broke down, and he gave his student the question to ask himself through his meditative process, "Who am I?" And so I like to repurpose this question when I'm talking with students about meditation. Like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And where did you get these ideas from? And are they actually an accurate reflection of your authentic self? And when we approach ourselves this way, and just this week attending all of these talks with all these incredible um, people in the world of trauma who are working to educate people and help people recover from trauma and actually define what trauma is. A lot of people think that trauma is something like something that happens that's super bad. Like, there's gun violence, which of course is traumatic. But it's interesting also to see how many people define trauma differently. And my definition of trauma is anything that causes you to disconnect from self because one, it's not safe. You don't feel safe to either feel your feelings or to have your needs met at that moment. And this is something that's learnt, right? We inherit these patterns of relating to our own energetic field and our own emotion from a very early age. And so it's interesting. There were many people talking about trauma from all different angles. One particular was related to race and how intergenerational trauma is passed on through nervous systems, and that our parents are if we're lucky enough to be raised and to be around our parents, are the first nervous systems that we are exposed to. And those nervous systems energetically teach us how to self-regulate. And if those adults around us, don't have the skill to self-regulate themselves, then it's really difficult for them to teach their children this skill. And most of this is unconscious and nonverbal. And so what I'm really excited about is that all of this unconscious realm that has existed and is invisible, but is affecting everyone and their behaviors and their choices, because it's a product of your neurochemistry, of your nervous system and how it reacts, is affected by this. And so it's too important not to talk about it. It's too important for people not to know what it is. And so what really came up for me today big time is that really I got like trauma is the relational wound. And the initial wound is the relation to self. In that moment you take yourself away, you contract your life force because it's not safe to be you, to be in your body, to have your emotions, to have the needs that you need. And so it is this silent subconscious space of this relational space that you can't see, but you can see the symptoms of how free people are to be in this relational space. And it was just so amazing. And it's nothing that intuitively people don't know if they are observant. And of course, when you start talking to people about this, they go, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, and it's just amazing how they begin to connect and share things that perhaps they hadn't seen as traumatic. But it's very subtle, and the mind is so magnificent, and the nervous system is so magnificent because it adapts. It has this adaptive response to stress in the body. And then another fascinating piece is that the mind really doesn't, it adapts information, fills in holes of things that aren't there, and then it doesn't even know that it did it because it's trying to protect the organism, the human life, from the threat of survival, to their survival. And as children, we're growing up, we don't have the benefit of fully developed nervous systems, so we depend on the adults around us to learn how to do this. And when I say this, I mean be able to identify our emotion and not get pulled out of our experience because it's not safe. And so that's the moment of dissociation where we begin to put on a social mask, And it's, so multi-layered and complex. Nothing I could cover here in, a few minutes that I stopped by to speak with you. But I just wanted to come on and share those couple thoughts with you. I'll put the link. They just made a film called The Wisdom of Trauma with Gabor Mate. And then they had 7 days of talks with different experts in the field of trauma and, from all different realms of society. So it was fascinating to hear different perspectives. But I just wanted to let you know that I have just finished up. I'm just in the place of wrapping up a 3-part workshop on the power of self-awareness because I think it's such an important issue. That all of us understand how our nervous system works, how we process information, how we don't process information. Being a teacher and a reading specialist, more specifically, it was so fascinating how the brain takes on adaptive responses for processing information, for filling in holes. And you wouldn't notice it, right, unless you knew what you were looking for. And so, if there's one deficit in the brain, or one deficit in processing, because we process information through our senses, um, and when there's a deficit, like we have an auditory processing issue, or an inability to conceptualize information, our brain will create an adaptive response in order to kind of skip over that and still get the meaning. And so it's really fascinating to see how that happens with more important issues besides reading, but just like, you know, um, how to process emotion, how to identify, what you're needing, and how to communicate that effectively, and stepping outside of this ego construct that we had mirrored back to us and that we took on from the people around us because we needed to survive. And that survival meant approval, right? When we're children and we have these, big people around us and we depend on them for our safety, our food, our shelter. Um, the mind looks at it as either or, especially if we don't have adults around us that can help us, um, make these decisions, who are aware of our own process because they're aware of their own process, and so on. So, anyhow, it's starting July the 8th, and there is early bird registration available. I will put a link under or above. I can't remember if it's under or I think it's above this live if you're interested in checking it out. Um, and I hope you guys are all doing well and taking care of yourself and finding, a quiet spot in the storm of life. Sometimes, we're just riding life, the emotions of life, um, the unpredictability of life. And if we don't have a practice to be able to ground ourselves um, and to be with ourselves and to be present, then we can, our minds can run all over the place and terrorize us to a certain degree with worries and fears. Um, and the truth is nobody really knows, right, what's going to happen. And um, the best thing that we can do for ourselves and others is to be present in the moment so we can act from an embodied place, not a place of fear or panic or reactivity, right? So those are just a few thoughts. If you stop by, say hi. I'd love to know if you were here. Something resonated with you. Drop an emoji and let me know. It's so good to see you. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you real soon. Until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are, and bye for now.